Page Beis.
Second line.
Line begins with the word min ha'etzem. So Keilim, talking about Keilim, the atzilus, adalakus mamash, comparable to a spark relative to the fire from which it was drawn. Okay, the second line, and that's what we're going to straighten. Ukmeisha kosovo rakanti b'inyan ha'esesfiris. Rakanti, this is a Kabbalah sefer. He writes regarding esesfiris. The way he describes esesfiris is the me'ere ha'godel, that from his great light is noitzutzu ha'keilim, sparked off the keilim. What is the expression of his noitzutzu? Sparkled off. That's probably more correct in translation. The who? The principle of his neitzetzus, sparkling off, who it is she'ein zek me atzilus mamash. The point in there using the word neitzetzus is to point out that although this is also of the same material, so to speak, the same reality, but it's not like the atzilus mamash, like atzilus, the real inyan of atzilus. It sparkles rather than being a presence. What is atzilus? Atzilus, shu al derech vayotzem min haruach. Atzilus, the word atzilus is implying, similar to what it says by Moshe vayotzem min haruach. He drew out, or he inspired, so to speak, min ruach, from the spirit, shehi ha'ora akshura b'mkoira, which applies ha'ora, Ha'ora means, as we should mean, ha'ora means something that has a functional element. Ha'ora. Hakshura b'mkoira, that is connected to its source. That is vayotza. Vayotza min ruach means that it is connected to the source. Kishal hebes hakshura b'gacheles, like the flame that is bound with the coal. Doesn't become a separate entity. Whereas the principle hisneitzus is sparkling. What is the inference by the word hisneitzus? Sheba b'vchinas havdalah, that it comes, or it is represented in a havdalah, in a separation manner. let us try and correlate the terms to the explanation. When we refer to something as sparkling, means that it's telling you about itself, not by its presence, but by a sparkle. Excuse me. By a sparkle. In other words, there's an active manner by which it announces itself. Something that is there for real doesn't have to announce itself. It is present. DailyChassidus means there's an active means by which it makes itself known. It sparkles. That means that it is not directly representative of the reality itself. The Rambam says, just want to further clarify this, that the foundation of wisdom is the knowledge that there is a first being. What does this tell you? That the knowledge that there is a first being is not the result of wisdom. If this is the foundation for wisdom, that means that not knowledge precedes wisdom. How then is it known if not for wisdom? And the answer is, of course, that this is a knowledge that is beyond wisdom. Wisdom applies to a knowledge that has an element of discovery. You could recognize it or not recognize it. This is a reality that you cannot not recognize. It is not known by making an announcement of itself. Let's make the first being. When you talk about his atzilus, it sparkles. That means its presence is known by some kind of an announcement, some kind of an action. So although this sparkling sparkles with the light of the origin, but its presence is in the form of sparkling. Which means that this is already a state of being detached from the source. If it is attached to the source, it doesn't have to sparkle. It's in reality of the source itself. Is this clear?
Yeah.
I want to demonstrate this principle. It's a very important principle. We mentioned many times that if you see a cup on the table, you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that someone put it down there. Especially if the cup has water or tea in it, you know a human being put it down. It didn't come any other way. beyond the shadow of a doubt. Now, let's take a step further. You actually see a human being putting it down. See a person putting down the cup. Is there a difference in these two awarenesses? Or there is no difference?
That difference is telling us.
I'm asking, is there a difference?
Yeah, definitely a difference.
Okay. Now let's focus in and identify the difference.
Well, the first.
A student has to become a teacher once in a while, ultimately.
In the first case, even though it's 100%, it's still like deductive. The element where it's not direct. The second case, you have the direct experience, direct knowledge.
So, and therefore, what's the difference? This is an important question.
You know what, if you see that it's on the, if you have to deduce it, you know basically something about the cup being on the table. So you don't know any more than that. You don't know any like context and background behind it happening, and you could suppose it, but you don't have any, you don't see it. If you see the person putting it on the table, you see instantly like the whole context and the background. There's a person behind it, and there's a whole picture behind it, as opposed to just seeing one element of it and knowing that there's life in that one element, and assuming that there's projecting beyond it.
We're moving along. In other words, just want to conclude that if you see this, the person putting it down, then the cup on the table and the person who put it down is one and the same thing. The cup on the table represents exactly the person putting it down. Let's take this into a significant arena. There's a world, and with our reasoning and our seichel, we say the world was created by God. What if you identify in the world the actual God God the present? It's not the world was created by God. There is no world but for you see the God creating it. That's what the world is.
It's a Keilim.
Huh?
It's a Keilim.
Keilim. Let's not confuse the. You understand the point? This is how significant these questions are.
So, just to connect to where we started, the seeing the cup is like a sparky kind of questions. It's like announcing something. The second case where you see him putting down the cup is like a more quiet reality. It's just the truth of it itself. Yeah?
That's right.
Okay.
It's a reality that there's no question and answer. There's just a reality itself.
Mm-hmm. And then just to the point we said a moment ago, so then correctly seeing reality itself is to see how God is making the world right now, as opposed to kind of deducing, oh, it's His creation. Yeah?
Right. There is no reality but for the godly reality. There's only one reality. So if you see the world, say, oh, it's real. Where is it coming from? It comes from the God reality. It's not seeing it directly. The answer to the question is valid. The answer is valid, but it's still it's still a detached knowledge. We spoke about it last night. You know, in various circumstances. Okay. 4 lines from the top of Beis. Atzilus is like Ha'ora Hakshura, the inflection of Hakshura bim Koil Ha'ora, that is bound to its source, Kishahev is Hakshura b'Gachelis. Like the flame that is bound to the coal. That's not separate things. When you see a flame, you don't ask where it's coming from. You see a flame and see the coal, you're seeing the same thing.
What's the Shehi here? Shehi Ha'ara?
The atzilus. Masha in Kain Inya HaHisneitzes. Whereas the union of Hisneitzes is sparkling, Usheba B'Bchinas Havdalah. This is the same union, but it's B'Bchinas Havdalah. It is on a separate, it announces itself independently of its source. That's made up Havdalah. It announces its presence. Yesh Leimer, and in this regard, to further connect all the ends, we say the Inyan Hisneitzes who, that the principle of Hisneitzes is Ki Inyan Nefilas Ha'oisiyos, is in the same vein as Nefilas Ha'oisiyos, as the falling out of the letters Shalidei HaKoas El Yosef Ve'er Choyze Kanal, by this clash of Ve'er Choyze El Yosef Ve'er Choyze. As we said before, that this is where the oisius fall out from the oir. I'm sure you remember this, we regurgitated this many times. When the oir yosher is being challenged in an arena where it's not directly recognized, so the yosher produces a means by which it can substantiate itself. This is called oisius. V'alkein, and therefore, im heyesh amelakus mamosh, despite the fact that the oisius or the Keilim are alakus mamosh, are literally alakus. They have a godly level of truth. Dam shum zen yikro atzilus. Dam shum zen yikro atzilus. Where, in reference to this alakus, to its being alakus, it is called atzilus. That's what atzilus, not its nature of atzilus. Atzilus means an emanation, because it is literally elikus mamash.
Disconnected.
Oh, okay.
No, I think it's the Jabra ran out of battery power.
Okay. But I'm still on, right?
Correct. But you probably want to go to speakerphone.
Yeah, I'm on speaker. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, very good. So it'll be less loud, but you will hear still. The Alshum Zan Yikra Atzilus. For the very fact that it's a Lakus Mamash, this is why it's called Atzilus. Because Atzilus means an emanation connected to the reality. Umokim Achim Mevur. Elsewhere it explains the Shleimar, that actually we can go further and say Shehein, that they, meaning the Keilim, are bebchinas atzilus, they qualify as atzilus. Sheinon boyim bebchinas shine hamhus, nekir hagvul shebein sof. Every word here needs to be explained, and as we always do, we try to explain every word. The Keilim are also called atzilus, even though this is Keilim. Keilim means, as we said before, that they have the element of being separate entities from the source, a means by which it can be presented. That's what a Keilim. Like letters. And yet we're saying that Keilim, the atzilus, are also correctly described and referred to as atzilus. They're also atzilus. Atzilus means a direct emanation from the Ayin Sof. But when we say that Keilim is separate, how are they a direct emanation of the Ayin Sof? So the explanation of this is, again, inside Sheinum Boyim bebchinas shinei hamahus mekoyach hagvul shebein sof. There is not a transitional point. Shinei hamahus means a change of element, of reality. Mekoyach hagvul shebein sof, mekoyach hagvul shebein sof. What does that mean? As we said before, the Ein Sof contains Koyach HaGvul. In the Ein Sof there is a Koyach HaGvul. There is the element of that it can be represented in a finite and a definitive manner. But that's contained within the Oid itself. The way it is contained in the Oid itself, it is literally part and parcel of the oil. When this announces itself, this comes forth as a statement, then it becomes outside of the Ein Sof. But being outside of the Ein Sof does not entail a change of quality at all. Let's continue the line. Shaharei heim elokus mamash, since adei elokus mamash. What does it mean, Shaharei heim elokus mamash? This is coming back to our mashal of the cup, of a person putting down the cup. This putting down of the cup, the action of putting it down, is one with the person himself. As we spoke last night, not only is the action human action, This is a human action, not only because only a human being knows how to put a cup down in such a way, but that the cup being put down is a human element. There's no other things to it but the human element.
There's nothing to it but the human element. I mean, it's not the essence of the human being, it's a functional, it's a specific action. It has very human quality to it.
That's it. Exclusively a human quality. And we said that ultimately you know it not by two different steps. Because it's the very same mahus.
You're saying the Keilim and the
right, the Keilim and the oil. Although this is the koyach hagvul, the koyach hagvul in the oil. When this koyach hagvul comes out of the oil, becomes identifiable as koyach hagvul, and yet it does not undergo a change of mahus.
Let's just say it doesn't become its own thing.
That's right.
Okay.
This is what we have been repeating lately, the halacha of the plate that contains a morsel of food.
Right. So there the plate is bottled to this little amount of food that it's carrying. But even in describing it, we still say, there's the plate that is nullified.
That is, yes, it's true, right? But take a look at the halacha. You have to understand.
Right, the halacha is like it does not even exist.
That's
yeah?
right. You have to look at it from a halacha, from a godly perspective. You're right, Begashmis, it becomes two separate entities.
And so, going with that, you have to look at it from a godly perspective. That's to say...
What gives it a presence?
What gives it a presence? Wait, so from a godly perspective, it truly does not exist?
But, yes, but for the fact that that has food in it. We said yesterday, we have a few minutes. The difference between a setting, a meeting setting, a table with chairs, and human beings sitting around the table, on the chairs. Human beings are sitting around the chairs, they're actually using the Keilim. You can't sit without the table and chairs. But when the human beings, when people are actually sitting on them, what gives these table and chairs a presence? The people sitting on it, or the table and chairs per se?
I know the right answer, but I want to say the other one.
If you're walking into a room and you see people sitting around the table,
yeah.
so you're not going to walk into the table, you're going to go around it. Correct?
Yeah.
Why? Because the table is going to be in your way, or because the people are going to be in your way? because you don't want to disturb the people, not in your way, because you don't want to disturb the people.
Right, and that's showing that the table is now included in the people. It's like
That's right. Although it's a separate entity.
What's that mean? It's separate, but it's included. Although it's a separate entity, it's well.
Oh, the principle of people sitting around the table, we said, is a human spirit. At the time when it is already imbued in a table, it's identified as a separate, external to the human spirit. But it still carries with it the human spirit.
See over here at the end of the line it goes Harehu Elokus Mamash.
Right.
But we don't say Hare Ashulchan Inushi Mamash. We do.
In a certain sense, we do. That's a whole. In an emotional level, yes, we do. Absolutely do.
Yeah.
You say you're not going to go through. You're not going to disturb the people, not because the table is in your way. You don't even notice the fact that the table is blocking your way. It's a completely different reality. Which means that the human spirit carries over to the presence of the table itself.
So if it wasn't the case, then you'd still recognize the table? It wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't, then you'd still recognize the table? Even in the presence of people?
That's right.
It's people on the table.
Yeah, okay, this is it. The few minutes we had, we already used up. Okay, so have a great day. Hey!